Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with One Punch Man. Last time on One Punch Man, we had Justice Under Siege, where we got the demands of the Monster Association. Well, kind of. We got the fake demands, and then the real demands, which was just, hey, send all your heroes after the hostage so that we can kill them. And of course, Metal Knight, because he's not a hero, was like, let's just forget the kid, let's just try to kill him. And all the others were like, no, don't. Like, try to be a hero. And then, there is a full-out war brewing between the Hero and Monster Associations. And then, there was a group of heroes that had cornered Garo, who was badly injured after fighting Watchdog Man, and then getting yeeted by Saitama, and they seem to have him on the defense. He's outnumbered. He's starting to get outmatched. He's also poisoned, so he's badly wounded. So things are not looking good for him, and that's where the episode ended. Like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So let's go ahead and get into this episode of One Punch Man. Here we go. Oh boy, what an action-packed episode, man. Action-packed. Alright, next episode is the finale of Season 2. I am pretty positive that next episode will be the end of Garo's storyline, and then the Monster Association will continue into Season 3, I'm sure. There's no way they wrap it up just like that. Now, how it's going to go down, well, Saitama is on his way, technically, to go look around, so it could potentially end with Saitama just killing Garo straight out, It's definitely not there definitely still wouldn't be a Saitama versus Garo. It wouldn't be an actual fight. But despite the fact that, they don't have someone like Boros, who is not a threat to Saitama, but could at least, go a few minutes with Saitama. That's how I would classify that. He can withstand Saitama long enough to draw out a fight. Garo is not on that level, but I am enjoying the different levels to this fight with Garo. That, he fights all those heroes, and it weakens him, and then he fights Genos, and now he's fighting Silverfang. Maybe he'll beat Silverfang and go back to Genos, or Saitama will just show up at some point and end it. But he knows about Saitama now, and he knows that, I would imagine in his head, he's thinking that Saitama is the ultimate challenge, That's the person he needs to kill in order to become a true monster, So, honestly, when you really stop and think about it, Garo is really just if Speedo Sound Sonic was the bad guy of the season, Because, Sonic, because he does have now this rivalry, basically, with Genos as well as Saitama, he and Genos seem to consistently stay on level with each other, So, I would probably say that, Garo is a lot like Sonic if he was a full monster. Which, that's the difference, is that Sonic just wants to be, the strongest warrior. Garo wants to be a monster, which puts him in conflict with the heroes more often. Sonic, his only problem is Saitama. He wants to beat Saitama and Genos, but he can't. Those are the only heroes he ever comes into conflict with, So, anyway. I actually took a pretty decent amount of notes, man. This was it was a packed episode when you really get down to it, So we had the continuation of the gang versus Garo, which was interesting. I like how they talk about being underclassmen, because, it's like, okay, they feel, it's basically an inferiority complex where they feel like they're not treated, they're not respected like the Class S heroes, Now, some of it you have to remember, they've said that, like, oh, well, Class S is so picky, and that's mainly because of a My Mask, They've said that before, that it's a My Mask who's so picky about who actually advances ahead of him, And, it's very, excuse me, it's very rare exceptions of people that advance past a My Mask, basically without any input from him. Genos being the operative example, where Genos was immediately placed into Class S above a My Mask. So that's the thing, is that I think that's part of it, that, which that's also why Class A rank 1 is not at this fight, So it's very interesting to hear, because, when they say, like, okay, well, Class S gets paid the big bucks, and they are privy to information that is classified to other heroes, they get more respect. But the thing is, you do have to remember, Class S earns their paycheck, except for Blast, who does jack all on this show. I'm going to keep mentioning that until we see Blast. I swear to God, he's not going to be real, He's just like, he's a fictitious hero just to, keep keep Class S in line, so that nobody gets too big of a head, So, hang on. I could feel my throat starting to dry out. Okay, excuse me. Anyway, so that's the thing, when they say, like, oh, well, Class S is treated differently, they do have a point to an extent, but you also do have to remember, Class S deserves their ranking, Every single one of them deserves the rank that they have, Class S, because we've seen time and time again where there are, like, oh, here's some heroes that are trying to, do something, and then Class S comes in, they're just better. It's not just that, oh, well, they're treated better. It's that, no, they legitimately are better. Now, that doesn't mean that Class A, B, even C class heroes are bad. They're all good heroes. They're all deserving of the title hero. For God's sake, look at Moomin Rider. Class C rank 1, but he's one of the most heroic people. But there is a difference between, like, Moomin Rider and Tornado. Tornado deserves Class S rank 2. Everyone in Class S is in a league of their own, and they deserve to be there. We also saw that with Flashy Flash, where it was actually like most of these heroes that were in this team that, they were struggling, and then Flashy Flash comes in, and it's not just that, oh, well, he's so strong that's why, or anything like that. It's like, no, he beat him with skill and everything. Like, he put everything to work to beat that monster. And then, of course, Tornado comes in, steals the kill, but whatever. But there is a reason that Class S has that rank. It's not just because they're treated differently, but they do deserve that rank. And it's not good. It's not helpful to have this inferiority complex. Recognize your own talents. Recognize why you're not in Class S. And try to, as Saitama said, move forward. Like, yes, even if you have limits, even if you think you know your limits, move forward. Focus on moving forward. Don't look at your faults. Move forward, Stop focusing on what's wrong with you and try to move forward, Which I love that. Well, first off, I love because it's like, okay, so this guy, he was in, because we saw it's like he was pretty low-ranking Class B, but he used to be in Blizzard's team, but he seemed to be a liability, and he was about to die when it was Saitama who came in and saved him. And I like how he's all emotional about it, and he says, oh, I'm just some weakling who's reached his limit. And Saitama, I love Saitama. What an amazing character Saitama is, because he always has this... Saitama, I love that he always has this strange wisdom about him, Like... And because it's not even like, the basic, the standard wisdom that you would expect when you hear the word wisdom, but just the way he says things, he says them almost so matter of fact. He's very... I guess it's just sort of optimism, but I like how he says, who told you what your limits are, Because this is a pretty normal guy. He looks exactly like Saitama did, before all the training, and look at where Saitama is now. It's like, who decided your limits? Instead of focusing on all your faults, try to move forward. So that was really, really amazing. I just love all of that working into that fight. Even though yes, they didn't end up beating the hero killer, the hero hunter. They did put up a good fight, and they did honestly, they earned their paychecks. Even if they didn't defeat the hero hunter and gain the recognition and everything, that's not the point. They went and they did their job. I love that this season is all about what it means to be a hero, and even recognizing your limits is technically a way to move forward. It is technically a way to move forward, because if you recognize your limits, okay, these are my limits. Now, what can I do with these limits to move forward? And that guy did recognize his limits again. He realized that they had all, okay, we have lost, but I can still do something. And he signaled for help, and Genos came, Genos came to help, a Class S who could stand a chance on his own against Garo. So that was all really, really great. We also got, even though Garo did save the kid was afraid of him. I mean, Garo's backstory is interesting, if not a little ridiculous, because he always sympathized with the monsters. But the thing is, there is a difference in monsters. Not all monsters are sympathetic, Like, a lot of the monsters at the Monster Association are not sympathetic monsters. Him thinking, okay, like, in the show that he watched as a kid, like, oh, well, that guy, he was just trying to protect his home. He didn't want pollution, polluting in the ocean anymore. He was just, so you root for him. But Garo doesn't understand, I think, that there's a difference between a monster and a sympathetic villain, It's the difference of, like, if we kind of, because we just had this over on my Hero Academia reactions. It's the difference between, like, All for One, who is just a, evil monster, and Gentle Criminal, who is a very sympathetic villain, You root, you enjoy All for One, and that's great, but you root for Gentle Criminal even though he can't win. You honestly don't actually want him to win because of what him winning would mean, but you really do, you sympathize with him, you do want him to win, It is the trick like that, whereas with Garo, he looked at that and he sympathized with that monster, but not all monsters are like that, But he focused on that one monster, and because of everyone else saying, hey, no, why would you root for the monsters? They're just monsters. That instilled this, that instilled it in Garo that, oh, monsters, monsters aren't treated fairly. Monsters are unjustly, killed by these heroes, So it's an interesting thing to sort of think about. In what could be, if you read this on paper, like, Garo didn't, Garo wants to be a monster because he didn't like that heroes killed monsters in his favorite, TV show. If you look at that on paper, it's like, okay, what are we doing here? That's his motivation. That seems kind of silly. Like, okay, but you get it, once you get it all in here with the rest of the context of the show, you do start to realize, like, okay, I can kind of see where he's going with this, So that was interesting. We did get Genos versus Garo, which was awesome, which we have been, teased with in the intro for so long. But that was really, really cool. I like that. Genos versus Garo, a good fight, definitely. I did write down the gaming. I thought that was funny. Just the gaming between Saitama and King, and how Saitama is specifically just a button masher, whereas King actually knows how to play the game. So that's funny. I like that Saitama can't beat King when it comes to gaming. Like, I think that's a good thing, because obviously, there's such a difference between them power-wise, because King is just a normal person. So, I do like that. I also wrote down, I like how Garo was actually learning from his adversaries, and in order to try to get a one-up on Genos, he actually started to move like Watchdog Man, which was very interesting. So that I really did like that, him learning from his, because honestly, his greatest opponent so far, the one that's given him the most trouble, actually was Watchdog Man. So I like him learning from his opponent, which we've also had that before with Puri Puri Prisoner learning from his defeat by the Deep Sea King. So I like all that. And I'm loving Genos' upgrades, okay, so he lost an arm, but then that arm, claps on and then, ties, restrains Garo to that tree. That was very interesting. So I'm really digging these new upgrades that Genos has. We also did get the return of the Monster Association trying to recruit Garo. It's still very interesting, Garo doesn't want to be a part of the Monster Association. It's more that, not that, he doesn't, I don't know. It's a strange thing, because at first you'd be like, well, why wouldn't you want to be a part of the Monster Association? They are monsters, you're a monster, it seems like a good fit, but he doesn't want their help. He wants to do all of this on his own to prove that he is a monster, which honestly, he kind of has a monster inferiority complex that is similar to the heroes that he fought earlier in the episode. They're concerned about rankings and Class S and being outshined. He's kind of doing the same thing as a monster. It's like, I want, my name to go down as a monster. I want to do this all on my own, and I don't care if I don't need the Monster Association. I can do this on my own, and I will defeat all the heroes and prove that I'm the strongest monster that can't be beaten. He's kind of honestly got the same thing going on, So I like that. And then the last thing I wrote down is Garo versus Silverfang, which is interesting. Now, again, we have Bomb, I think is his name. We have Bomb, who's going after the other monsters that are there. So I'm sure at some point, if he needed to, he could jump into the fight as well. Also, Genos is there, and Saitama is at least out of the house looking for Genos to make sure he's okay. So I don't see Garo winning at all. It's possible, again, that he could beat Silverfang, although in his condition that'd be strange, but he could beat Silverfang. I don't think he would beat Genos, and then obviously he's not going to beat Saitama if Saitama shows up. But yeah, we are definitely in for a very interesting season finale, I'm sure, and definitely going to be the end of Garo's storyline, but we will see what's going to be happening with the Monster Association, especially in how that will carry over to Season 3, which I really do need to look up when Season 3 is going to come out, because I definitely am going to be excited for that. So yeah, that is basically it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my One Punch Man reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit the notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.